Hi guys, and welcome back to the Wedding Talk Show. Woo-hoo! Today we're going to be talking about something that is very interesting, and that is, do vendors count as part of my guest size? So I know that a lot of times when you're planning weddings, you think about, what number. Typically a lot of people ask you, so what's the number of guests you're expecting? And some people confuse it with, does that include the number of vendors that I'm expecting also? So we're going to break everything down in today's episode and just look at it. In fact, if you think about when you want to get your safety clearance that is from Lagos State government, they would ask you also what number of guests are you expecting and all of that. Typically that question comes up a lot of times, so you want to book the hall and things like that. So the general answer is no. Vendors don't count as part of your guest size, because when we're talking about your guest size, you're looking at the number of people that would be seated at your wedding. So if, for example, you are expecting say 250 guests, you're expecting 500 guests, your vendors are not included in that count, right? Because their vendors are basically service providers, and they are there to provide a service. So on most of the time, they will not actually sit down to say, you know what, I am enjoying this wedding, and no. But then you still have to think about, okay, fine, even if your vendors are not part, or they don't count as part of your guest list, which is the general answer that no, there's a second part to it where you have to include your vendors in your guest size. So especially when you think about catering, because remember that even though they are vendors, they are service providers, you also have some form of responsibility to them. I know that there's this debate of, clients should not provide food for their vendors and things like that. If you paid your vendors, then they should sort out themselves and things like that, which, well, if we want to argue it, yes, you would probably be right. But then you're also looking at, it also reflects negatively on you. For example, think about vendors that cannot leave their station to go to get food. For example, you have your photographer, you have your videographers, you have, say, your wedding planner, you have your couple assistants. Those people would be there with you from, say, the start of the day, so maybe 6 a.m., and then they have to be with you throughout the day. Different activities are going on. These people are stationed with you. They don't have the opportunity to say, you know what, let me go to get food to eat. So it's just part of your hospitality to them to say, you know what, include them in when I'm providing catering. So that includes food, drinks, let them be included. So, because the truth of the matter is that depending on the scale of the production of your wedding, you can have so many vendors, right? And that is part of the reasons why they don't even count in the number of guests that you are looking at. For example, you would have a typical wedding, you would have a minimum of, say, in fact, if you do a very small scale wedding, you would have a minimum of 40 vendors, because you think about your band members. If you're doing a full band is about 10 people. You have the band member, will also have the sound engineer and some other people like that, and so you're typically looking at about 15 people. You have your hostesses, you have your security, so that is apart from every other vendor. So you think about your caterer, your drinks vendors. They are people that are instrumental to the success of your event. So I think that what I want you to take away from this is, don't just limit your mind to, you know what, I'm going to take care of only my guests, like the people that I am inviting, but also look at it from the point of, okay, you know what, yes, I'm taking care of my guests, their priority. In fact, every vendor that is there to cater to you and your guests, but also look at it as a form of responsibility to the vendor to make their work easier. So for example, you have a vendor that has been on their feet for about 10 hours, and then you don't make provision for, even if it is just a plate of food, maybe a plate of rice for them. I think it's actually wrong. and this is just it's not an entitlement, but it's just like part of the care. Like, I mean, it's part of the care that you show that, you know what, I care for you, I appreciate what you're doing, I see what you're doing, I know that without you guys these things will not come together properly. And then let them at least have food to eat, because if every vendor should leave your venue to say, oh, you know what, let me go and source food for my people, and no, it would impact on the outcome of your wedding, and you don't want that. So the general answer to the question is, do vendors count as part of your guest list? No. Of your guest size? No. But you have to think about them, especially when it comes to catering. So in your seating arrangement, you don't need to include them in that number, but when it comes to catering, you have to include them. I'm sure that this has helped you. Let me know what the points you picked out in the comment section below. If you have questions, do send your questions to twts@myeventigo.com, and we'll be sure to treat your questions on another episode. So thank you for listening. Share this podcast with your friends, your family, anybody you know that is getting married. I'm sure it's going to help them a whole lot. And also I have a free gift for you. I think throughout the month of June and into July, I'm going to give this out as a free gift, because July is my birth month. Yeah, I know, right? And so just if you've not gotten a venue for your wedding, or you want a sheet where you have comprehensive, you can fill out the details of all the vendors that you've booked and things like that, so that you don't miss out any vendor, just use the link in the description below and download it. My printable wedding planner, it's free. I have a version that is free for you, so just use the link in the description below to access it, and you're on your way to a stress-free wedding planning period. So I wish you all the best. If you need help with your wedding planning, of course, just reach out to me. You can actually send an email to twts@myeventigo.com. I will be glad to respond to you. Till I see you next week Friday, do have a lovely week. Mwah.